All right, we have yet another super card in the house. This one's the GTX 1660 Super. The super cards have all been sort of reactive by Team Green, if you think about it. They've all been released into the ether as a way to compete against AMD. Like when the RX 5700 and 5700 XT were about to come out, the RTX 2060 Super and 2070 Super popped up out of nowhere. And now we have the RX 5500 series and 5600 series from AMD right around the corner. And lo and behold, NVIDIA releases the 1660 Super, which is just a way for them to cover more ground with their entry-level / mid-range offerings. So this is placed right in between the GTX 1660 and the 1660 Ti, and that's going to be both in terms of price and performance. It'll fall right in between there. The GTX 1660 Super starts at $229, which is pretty compelling. It's about $50 cheaper than a GTX 1660 Ti, but I'm not exactly sure how much this exact card costs because this is the Gigabyte WindForce OC model, so it is factory overclocked, and between the different add and board partner cards, they're all going to range a little bit with pricing and stuff. This one in particular has an 8-pin power connector, which is the standard configuration for the reference 1660 Super. Now this card actually has a lot in common with its cheaper GTX 1660. For one, they both have the same TU116 GPU, they're shipping with the same clock speeds unless you get a factory overclock variant, and they both have 6 gigs of memory. However, the one big difference is that the memory on this GPU is GDDR5-6. No, what the heck? GDDR6, I'm tired. And it's also clocked at 14 gigabits per second. Wow. Which effectively means that its peak memory bandwidth is 75% higher than that of the GTX 1660. And that's a lot. So we're about to see how much of a difference that one change makes between these two cards. Having said that, the only GPU I'm actually testing this one against today is the GTX 1660 Ti. I really only had time to test 2 GPUs for this video. There was a huge shipping mishap. NVIDIA sent this sample to my old address that's over an hour away from our new place, so I didn't have time to work on this video before my 4-day out-of-town trip with my family, and then I returned 1 day before the embargo lifts, which is, around the time you're watching this video. So long story short, I would have loved to throw in data for the GTX 1660, and maybe even the 1650 as well in this video, but I just didn't have the bandwidth to do it in time. At the very least, I was able to test 6 games at 1920 by 1080 as well as 2560 by 1440, and based on what we know from my previous testing, how the 1660 Ti performed roughly 11% faster on average than the 1660, we'll actually have a really good idea of where this falls in between those two cards once we can compare it to either one of them. So on that note, let's check out the benchmarks and talk about it afterwards. So there you go, my friends. The 1660 Super is actually keeping pace quite well. If you're looking at actual frame rates, I averaged them all out across the 6 games. The Ti variant was only 4.5% faster on average at 1080p, and just 4.1% faster at 1440p. This thing was averaging 69 FPS for $229. That's really impressive. After looking at the results, I think between the two cards, this one is the better value by far. I personally don't think a 4 to 5% FPS bump is worth the 20% or higher price hike of the GTX 1660 Ti at this point. So if you have $200 and something to spend on a discrete graphics card, I would suggest this one, unless you can find a great deal on a GTX 1660 Ti. And with Black Friday coming up, you just might be able to. But at the current pricing, This is a really good bargain. And you remember earlier when I mentioned the 1660 Ti was roughly 11% faster than the 1660? Well, if the Ti is roughly 5% faster than this card, that puts the performance of this GPU right smack in the middle between the 1660 and 1660 Ti. And with the 1660 getting that price drop, NVIDIA's doing a pretty good job here of casting a wider net in order to capture more of the market with their 1600 series. So summing things up, I think the big takeaway here is that the 1660 Super acts in much the same way as the RTX 2060 Super and the 2070 Super did, where they're actually very close in performance with the non-super GPUs that are directly above them, but they're being sold for a significantly cheaper price. And I think most consumers are pretty happy about that. Now, I didn't have the time tonight to do the number crunching I wanted to, but I think it's safe to say that the GTX 1660 Super is currently the best value-oriented or price to performance, bang for the buck, whatever you want to call it, gaming GPU currently on the market. We'll just have to wait and see how the GTX 1650 Super stacks up when it arrives later next month. But that's pretty much all I got for you guys. Thank you so much for putting up with me and my quick and dirty videos when stuff like this happens. But if you appreciate the videos and you like the content, toss a like on it. It really helps a lot. And feel free to check out the merchandise store, bitwit.tech. We've got the new heatsink logo on shirts, hoodies, mugs, and it's all very super high quality stuff and a great way to help support the channel if you like what we do here. Apart from that, guys, feel free to subscribe to the channel for more tech stuff coming at you really soon, and I will see you guys in the next video.